Hey there, welcome to the REI Conversion Podcast, where each episode we discuss strategies and digital tools to help you launch, automate, and scale your real estate investing business. Learn how to run your investing business remotely, find out ways to automate your business to better utilize your time, and learn what other successful investors are implementing so you can get to the next step closer to your investing goals. And I'm your host and founder of REI Conversion, Jesse Kwong. Hey, how's it going? This is Jesse of the REI Conversion Podcast. It's actually the first time we're going to be doing a podcast on video, so you can also check this out on YouTube. Anyways, today I am joined by Jon Burnett. He's a successful land investor who has found and utilized a lot of digital tools to help him scale and automate his land investing. And that's what we're going to chat about today. Jon, how's it going?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. And for those of you watching on YouTube, it's just weird. I have to look at a camera and I've got notes on my screen here. So I might be sort of looking back and forth. But anyways, hey, Jon, can you share a little bit about yourself, who you are, when you got started and what you're currently up to?
Yeah, so my name is Jon Burnett. My wife Valerie and we've been investing in land since we started digging into it probably July of 2017, and we've been going at this ever since. Right now, it's kind of all that I do, which is great. I'm over here in northern Idaho, which is wonderful. It's where I grew up. It's where our family lives, and so we got 3 kiddos. And yeah, this is just kind of what we do, and we've really been enjoying it a lot.
Right on. And do you mind sort of sharing a few numbers with us? So, like how much property are you moving per month? Is that something that you're open to sharing?
Yeah, so right now we're so we do primarily terms for our sales. Right now we're at about 10.7 thousand in passive. Right now we are moving, we had a slow stretch from like kind of October through December, but typically
Yeah.
we move 1 to 2 properties per week is typical for us.
Right on. Do you find typically around, and you bring this up, and I noticed that as well, like things sort of slow and unwind a little bit at the end of the year. And do you find that sort of um, something that happens every year for you guys?
It does. It's so hard to gauge because so much of our business happened in 2019 that it's
Right.
almost tough for us to gauge seasonality because like January of 2019, our business just took off. And so but we did see a slow stretch at the end of the year in 2018 as well. We did have a little bit of a boon with Black Friday, so we sold a handful of properties with a good
Hmm.
sale we did then. But yeah, it does just tend to be a little bit slower for us, it
Yeah,
seems
I,
like.
I I definitely find that as well. Even with over at area conversion, things just sort of tend to slow down. I noticed right after the Black Friday Thanksgiving weekend, and things just kind of calmed down. And I'm assuming things are starting to pick up now that you're in the new year.
Yeah, they are. We're getting lots of leads in, so we're just working on converting all of them.
Let's talk about that. So, uh, let's dive a little bit deeper in with your acquisition process. As from a top-down overview, how does that work for you guys?
Yeah.
And and for those of you listening, everybody sort of has a different process, and it, you know. And it takes a little bit of tinkering to find your rhythm, and every market is different. But Jon, why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So on the acquisition process, we have an intake manager who manages a lot of the process. She speaks with all of our owners, which that was a big step for us to take, and I'm really glad we did. It's relatively inexpensive, and you know, she basically before she came on, I just noticed so many things falling through the cracks because I didn't really love doing it. So she kind of helps us manage those relationships, and then basically we take the approach of mailing out roughly 250 offers a week is what we shoot for. And then basically we follow kind of Mark Podolsky's methods. And so we try to offer roughly 25 cents on the dollar. And then basically we push that through a due diligence process, review the properties, make sure it makes sense for us, run a title search. And then assuming everything looks good, then we push forward and acquire the property. And so that's kind of the process in a large scale overview. And then
Yeah.
kind of along the way, what we've done is, you know, little things that I don't like doing or that I do over and over again, or things that fall through the cracks, you know, slowly, one at a time, we've been trying to automate and delegate those. And I think it can be overwhelming to look at a process that's more automated and delegated,
Mhm.
because you forget the fact that all of that happened one piece at a time, you know.
That's a
But
really good point. And I think with a lot of things too, it's sort of get your foot running and then start building one piece at a time. And I see this a lot when I'm helping, our customers set up their websites or whatever, their systems, and they seem to want everything all at one time. And I always say, best to just get things running, understand the process, and understand, because you may operate differently from somebody. You may have a different set of skill sets. Certain things that you might not like, somebody else may totally enjoy. So it's worth getting to understand your business, and then, like you said, start building your automation process one piece at a time. Correct?
yeah, and I think that's been really helpful to us, because I think the other thing too, because the most important thing is just to get things done, to buy properties, right?
Absolutely.
And it's so easy to get distracted and build out the perfect system, and then you spend 2 months doing that, you buy nothing, and then you know where are you at then? So I
Yeah.
I think our general strategy has been to start with kind of a giant rat's nest of disorganization, and then pull it out and just start getting
I
it
love that.
pulled
No,
out one at
hey,
a time. Yeah.
that's so. I mean, man, I can draw. I can really connect with what you said. Starting off with a rat's nest, and then in a way, it sounds very chaotic, but it gives you a really good understanding of the way you're going to run your business. Just get things up and running, and then start understanding. There was a line that I just read recently. It's better to make right a decision than make the right decision. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
essentially, move with your decisions and make it and correct it along the way, rather than trying to find the perfect solution. Um,
Mhm.
and go from there. Anyways, so like you were mentioning, you're using digital tools, you're using certain tools, and obviously we chatted before this podcast interview, and we're going to focus more on the acquisition side of things. And um, you mentioned that you have. Let's talk about your acquisition manager. What do you look for in an acquisition manager? And it sounds like a very complicated title. I mean, can you sort of explain what she sort of does, or he or she does?
Yeah. So the acquisitions manager, essentially, what she does for me is she, once an offer letter comes in and is accepted or countered, she then reaches out to the owner of that property, and
Yep.
then says, "Hey, thank you for your offer, or thank you for your counter, or thank you for accepting our offer." And then she starts talking them through the whole process. She initiates that relationship with them, and then basically we have some services that we use that handle the due diligence side, and so
Yep.
she basically orders due diligence from us,
Sure.
and makes that happen. But she kind of oversees that and maintains the relationship, and then she gets on me if there's anything that I need to
Yep.
do that is falling through the cracks through that
Right.
whole process. And so, so once an offer is accepted, she'll order due diligence. She Once the due diligence comes through and I approve it, then she'll order a title report as well. And then once the title report comes through, then she orders a deed. And so all of those things happen so she kind of oversees the different, virtual assistants and stuff that we have, kind of helping us through that whole due diligence process, and then kind of works with me, and anywhere that I'm dropping the ball, she gets on me to make sure that it happens. And so
You know what? I mean, it's a lifesaver to have someone on your team that can keep the pieces together, because you're at the forefront, handling certain things that need your full attention, while there's someone else who's sort of picking up the pieces, and it's invaluable. I think, like Seth of RE Tipster, he had brought him on to talk about virtual assistants, but someone like that sounds like a huge net positive in your business and your life. So I can't imagine how grateful you must
Mhm.
be for her. Now, can I ask you, are they stateside or are they overseas?
They're stateside.
Oh,
So, whoop, can
okay.
you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
No, all good.
Uh, yeah, so they are stateside. She lives over in Florida. And right now, I think we pay her about $15 an hour, and she does a really good job with her time. So I think it typically costs us maybe, $150 about a month
Okay.
to manage that whole process. So really inexpensive for me to not have to worry about any of
Did you say,
that.
sorry, did you say 15 or 50?
15.
Okay, gotcha. I thought I heard 50. I was like,
Yeah.
that's a little bit on the high side.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now let's talk about the digital tools that you use. Mainly again on the acquisition side, you bring those leads in using a is it Zapier?
Correct. Or so the basically the leads come in and those go into so those actually go into an inbox that we have that we've
Yep.
set up for our acquisitions. And
Yep.
so all of those emails come in, all of the faxes go into there, everything kind of funnels into there. And then basically what the acquisitions manager does, she then um, pushes those. She adds those as records in Airtable, and Airtable kind of and Zapier have both been the core tools that we've utilized to
Okay.
kind of manage and automate and delegate as much work
Yeah.
as we can.
Yeah.
And so Airtable, we like. It's kind of like um, like it's a spreadsheet tool, but
Yep.
it has many facets
Hmm.
that come alongside that. You can store images in there. The way that you store data is very dynamic. There's really great formula options. You can use it like Trello if you want to, and build out, a Kanban board and push it through a series of steps.
Yeah.
You can do forms that create a new record, and then it works very well with Zapier. Basically, anytime either a record is updated in a particular way that you define, so you can say, okay, well, if she checks this box, then I want it to trigger the zap, or you can say if there's a new record, I want it to trigger a zap. So
Okay.
we've built a lot of automation around the processes that we do kind of around that. And so that, so for instance, I didn't like having to order title reports all the time, and I was becoming a bottleneck. So we built out a little thing. And so if my acquisitions manager checks a box, it sends out an email to our title guy that says, "Can you order a title report for this? And please reply to confirm that you received this."
Yeah.
So things like that that just kind of make things a lot simpler for us. So
Now, a lot of people may not even know what Zapier is or what Airtable is. So let's take it a step back
yeah,
and correct me if I'm wrong, but we use Zapier a lot as well. And Zapier is sort of, I look at it as almost like a bridging tool, where it uh, data can be sent into Zapier, and Zapier can spit it out into a different place or run a certain job, and they call it Zaps on Zapier. Would you say that's sort of what Zapier is for you guys?
yeah, I'd say it is. It bridges the connection between various different tools that we have, so we can say when this happens in this tool, then do this in this other tool.
Right. So now with Airtable, it's not really a CRM, correct? But you've sort of tailored it in a way to um, manage your leads. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So it's not really a CRM, but you can really use it as one. And I know that so I remember kind of in my corporate jobs, one of the temptations that's always there is to manage things in a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
right? And that's like and spreadsheets are the best and worst thing for that, because you can do anything you want, and it just
Yeah.
tends to kind of fall flat when you try to manage that. I think because of all the features that come alongside Airtable, it's a little bit easier to create some kind of a system that's a lot more functional and kind of works without kind of falling into the sand. So.
REI conversion websites are built to help you scale. Set up your site today to save time on both your acquisition and disposition sides of your business. Easily integrate with tools like Zapier, going from your site to your CRM or from your CRM to your site. Strategically designed themes built to optimize conversion rates for both buyer and seller leads, and custom built plugins by our team here at REI Conversion, helping you systemize your processes. Like our automated offers plugin to our sales post generator, all our plugins and themes work in perfect combination to help you grow, automate, and systemize the processes of your land or house investing business. Visit www.reiconversion.com today and launch your site and let it work for you, catching and generating more leads. So, if somebody were to say set up Airtable without having to go into the very specifics, from a very broad view, how could they say utilize Airtable in the simplest way? If let's say a lead comes in, how would that look on Airtable for you guys? Do you have different columns that categorizes that lead in the process that they're in? Um,
Yeah.
how does
So
that look like in a very simple term?
so I'd say that's so probably in the simplest way you could use it is you could create essentially a Kanban board that has all the fields of data that you want inputted,
Okay.
around a particular piece of land, and then you can push it from column to column as it progresses through, so you can know exactly what stage that lead is in. You've got the person's contact information. You've got everything you need right there, and then you can gradually progress them through that whole process. So
Right.
kind of like a more advanced Trello, where you've
Yeah.
actually got the custom fields that you want incorporated into that specific card. So
And nothing wrong with Trello because that's exactly what I use.
yeah.
You know what? And I just recently found out about Airtable. I'm definitely going to have a closer look at that. Um, and I think there, from what I saw, there are parallels between Trello and Airtable. And for some of you guys, I guess, are starting out, would you say, John, that if they needed to manage leads, do they need to jump on Airtable, or could they try it out? Get an understanding of um, managing leads through something like Trello. Would you say that's a good start?
I think it is. And I think that, I think it's good to start simple, right?
Yeah.
And build out to something that's more complex. I think you can start simple with Airtable and,
Yeah.
build something out, but you don't want to go so, because if you build out all the complexity before you're actually in the
Yes.
weeds, then it
Yes.
doesn't actually play out the way that you anticipated. And so,
And absolutely. I'm so glad you covered that, and I see that happening a lot. So I only brought up Trello because it's a free tool. Now, does Airtable have a free plan?
it does, yeah. So
Oh,
you can
okay.
do it. You can do it for free, and then they've got tiers. Basically, once you hit a certain record mark in a particular table, so once you've got
Gotcha.
like I don't know, like 1,000 or 2,000 rows, that's when you
Gotcha.
would need to start paying, or just archive those rows. So
Got you. Now, Zapier, on the other hand, it's obviously something that they need to pay for. I think it's a very common tool, and you'll probably find yourself, all the investors out there, that are looking to scale and automate things. I think Zapier is one of those tools that you can't avoid almost. It's just so powerful and flexible to automate almost. Man, they have got like 1,000, probably thousands of applications that they can connect with. They can connect with all sorts of CRMs like Podio, or they can even connect with Google Sheets if you like managing things through Google Sheets. I think we spoke with Willie G, and he uses Google Sheets or Excel, and Zapier can integrate with that. If you have a WordPress website, if you're using REI conversion website, Zapier again will be there to bridge the connection between the two. So definitely, I'll leave these applications in the show notes below. Um, Now, is there anything I'm missing here, especially on the Airtable side of things? So it sounds like you bring in the lead, you kind of push them along I guess, the pipeline into different columns. Um, how I mean, is it very complicated on your end now that you've sort of you've been running your business for a while now?
It's really not, and I think one of the core things that's been a benefit to us with Airtable, and really the initial reason that we got it, is that I wanted all of our due diligence information stored in a centralized place.
Right.
And
Right.
so I wanted that, and I wanted it to be in a place that I can use later. When we add these properties into our inventory, I want it to all be in the same system. And so I don't want to have to go back and copy, get all the coordinates and all the details for a website. I just want to be able
Right.
to have all of that
That's great.
incorporated. So that's been the core thing for us is getting, we use a service that basically they provide us a spreadsheet of due diligence information for our properties, and then
Right.
all of that gets entered by a VA into Airtable. And so when we build out web pages for our properties, when we do anything that we need to do, all of that data is there in that centralized system. So
So really, they sort of move along the column. You acquire them, either that you've acquired them or they drop out, and then they move along, you put them for marketing, and there's probably a column for buyer leads as well. Correct?
not so right now. Our system's a little bit more convoluted than I wish right now. So it's kind of one of the things that happens when you build something out as you go. You kind of like look
Yeah.
back at it retrospectively and just like that's a little bit, not the way I
Got
would do
you.
it right now.
Got you.
So
Got you.
we kind of have a couple separate bases, and so we
Mm,
manage the leads in one base. The due diligence goes into another base. I think in a perfect world, those two things would be connected,
right.
right? And so, but that's kind of how we manage it right now.
Got it. Well, hey, John, thanks again for sharing with us how your acquisition process works and what kind of tools you're using. John, if people wanted to get in touch with you, I know you're very busy. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best way would just be to reach out to me via email. My email address is it's Jon Burnett 90 at gmail.com, and it's JONBURNETT 90 at gmail.
Now, you also mentioned to me that you're also working with other land investors. Is that correct?
Hmm.
Can you
Yeah.
sort of explain a little bit about that and how you sort of get involved with other investors?
Yeah. Oh, right. So, other land investors, one of the things that we do, in addition to selling properties on terms, we also have a wholesale wing of our business where we will basically take a property and then we'll basically work out a deal where we can sell that to an investor so that there's enough meat on the bone for both of us to be happy. And so the nice thing is that, a lot of these areas that we invest in and that we're selling, we've got a good level of experience in selling in those areas too. So what we try to do is provide some level of expertise so that as you're looking to sell this property, you'll be prepared to hit the ground running and start marketing that property right away. So that's kind of an important wing of our business. So if anybody's interested in, looking for property, in Colorado or Arizona especially, we've got some, and we'd love to touch base with you on that.
Awesome. John, are you okay with me including your email in the show notes so that
Yeah,
people can reach out to you if they have a property they'd like to work with you on and go from there?
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, hey, John, thanks so much for your time again, and sort of sharing your knowledge of how you keep things organized and how you're scaling your business. Like I said, everybody runs things a little bit differently, but I think John has found a good footing for his business, and as obviously he's now scaled and doing quite well for for yourselves. And yeah, we wish you the best of luck, and I'd love to have you back on this podcast in the future.
All right, that sounds great. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.